Daryl here, and this is my daily devotional. After the reunion between Joseph and his brothers, Pharaoh gave the brothers instructions to take carts, return to Egypt, and get their families, their children, and especially their father Jacob, and bring them to Egypt to be saved from the famine. Now, this must have been a very difficult emotional time for Jacob because, first of all, he received the good news from the brothers that Joseph, who he thought was dead, was actually alive in Egypt and now in charge in Egypt. But leaving Canaan was a difficult choice for him to make. I mean, this was the promised land, promised to Abraham, promised to his father Isaac, and now it was his place to reside as God's promised place. But God gave him confidence to go to Egypt by giving him a vision. Listen as I read in Genesis chapter 46, beginning at verse 1. So Israel set out with all that was his, and when he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." "Here I am," he replied. "I am God, the God of your father," he said. "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes." Man, there's some great confidence that God would have given him in this time of stress. He's now told, "I'm going to make this great nation out of you in Egypt, and it will be your son, Joseph, that you thought had died, who will close your eyes at your death." So great information given there, and Jacob returns. Now Jacob is coming to the end of his life, and we're going to look at this for just a moment as we consider this experience of Jacob. Here we find it in Genesis chapter 47 at verse 27. It says, "Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, and the years of his life were 147. When the time drew near for Israel to die, he called for his son Joseph and said to him, 'If I have found favor in your eyes, put your hand under my thigh and promise that you will show me kindness and faithfulness. Do not bury me in Egypt, but when I rest with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me where they are buried.' 'I will do as you say,' he said. 'Swear to me,' he said. Then Joseph swore to him, and Israel worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff." So he's now on in age, and this business of putting his hand under his thigh, that was as if we were shaking hands on it, a sign of a covenant between two people. And he promised that when you die, I will take you back to the promised land, back to Canaan for your burial. And then we see here in Genesis chapter 50, verse 10. "So Jacob's sons did as he commanded them. They carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which Abraham had bought as a burial place from Ephron the Hittite, along with the field. After burying his father, Joseph returned to Egypt together with his brothers and all the others who had gone with him to bury his father." There's something symbolic about being returned to the promised land, to Canaan, for the final resting place of the bones of Jacob. What an experience he had. But God was faithful in the promise that he allowed Jacob to know Joseph before he died. Joseph was with him when he died. Joseph returned him to Canaan for his burial. God is faithful in the promises that he gives to us. And these are terrific examples of how we too can trust in the promises of God. God bless you. Good day.